Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry, we are a few minutes late. We had some technical issues, but here we are. So, Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. And I think a lot of the women in the group will appreciate it too, because you're an inspirational story, even though you may not view it that way, but it really is. So we're gonna jump in a moment. What I'm gonna do is pull up my questions so that I can stay on track. And guys, if you're joining us live, you are in the live for Facebook. So what you can do is type your questions in the chat box. So I'll just type a welcome here. Welcome to our live with Amanda. And whoops, one second. Post your questions here. So there's a little chat box where you guys can, in real time, ask Amanda or myself any questions. We'd be happy to answer them. And we're gonna get started. So first, fun fact, Amanda and I went to high school together.
And I'm probably going to call her Katie because that's how we knew her.
Yeah. Tatey, or in, oh my gosh, in elementary school or high school, whenever there was a new teacher, they'd be like, T. And I'm like,
Tati.
it's Tatey, Katie with a T. Anyways, so we do go way back, which is amazing. But Amanda, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your life, like not the whole thing, but like why or where you got, how you got to a point where you really felt like you needed some support inside the program with the Move with Ease method. Like where were things at? And like, I know you're a busy mom of three working, like a lot of women in the group are in similar boats. So just maybe give us a bit of background, take you back like maybe 8 months ago,
Eight
what
months.
things
I
were
was going to go
like.
back 20 years, but
Okay, or 20 years, sure.
well, no, I was just going to say that I had been seeing you as a physiotherapy client prior to joining the Move with Ease program because I had struggled with these headaches for years and years and years, mostly due to what I think was my career as a hairstylist, having a very bad posture, just repetitive motion and something. And I would get these terrible, like debilitating headaches, really, was what it all came to.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember.
yeah. And so that progressively as I got older, without really correcting any of that, just became like regular for me. Like those headaches were just normal to have to deal with, even after like I've stopped doing hair in the past couple of years, but those headaches didn't go away
Okay.
because I had done the damage, I think, but not really knowing that. Along with that came a lot of, I had three kids, like you said, so I had issues in one hip and my lower back and all of that. And really, I think a lot of us chalk that up to getting old. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
we've done
can
the
you tell
same
me a
thing.
bit about that? Like when you were experiencing those aches and pains, right? And you chalked it up to like, oh, well, I was a, hairstylist. I had three kids. Like what was the turning point maybe where you were like, I can't just chalk it up to getting old?
Um, I don't know what the turning point was, but when I saw you were doing an in-person for this, I thought, okay, I think, was it Brienne, the person that you had done? Yeah.
One of
And
them,
I was
yeah.
like, yeah, so like, how come she could feel better? It's not just like, oh, here we go. I'm in my 40s now. Like it's possible to reverse that. I don't know
Yeah.
about this. So it's just the possibility of not having to just continue down that slippery slope of your body not living up to how you want it to. Because I don't
Yeah.
necessarily feel old,
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
feel old. I still have my youngest is 4. I mean, I'm still on the floor playing with him. I'm running and stuff, and I don't like feeling like I can't. Uh,
Yeah.
so just the possibility that some of those might be able to be reversed or lessened was kind of like a little light bulb that like, oh, there's things we can do for this. Okay,
And
I'm interested.
And when you realized that, when you saw Brienne's story,
Sorry, my cat's
um,
gonna come right in.
oh, hello,
Live stream.
cat.
Okay.
Three boys and a cat. And do you have a dog too?
I have a dog and two cats, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Very busy. So like I want to talk about that a little bit because I feel like a lot of women especially and men too, but because my program is for women, like would you agree that it almost becomes like complacent and normalized until you even have the awareness that something can change?
Absolutely. And it's also like it becomes like a funny thing, right? Like, oh, once you hit 40, all that your body's gonna go to crap, like that kind of thing. It's like almost like just like a that's what it is. So deal with it, right? Like
Mm,
take some Advil, get up
yeah.
and do it. Like as like treat the pain, don't treat the cause almost.
Yeah. Yeah. So so now, like fast forward to now, like what do you think you would have told yourself? Or like what have you learned about that?
Um that my posture has been terrible my whole life, which I kind of knew, but um if you don't know what your neutral spine is supposed to feel like, then you need to figure that out because it's a game changer. No, but like for
Hey,
real.
that's so cool. Let's unpack that a bit because I think a lot of people will say, well, posture, it seems simple. And in reality, it kind of is. But if you've had it for 20 some years,
Mhm.
what do you think is the value in having that coach or like having that mentorship or even just not having to Google it? Like what's that nugget there that you got out of the program? Because I know posture was a big one for you.
Huge, and it still is. But I think you showing me the in between, right? So like when we're all sitting hunched at our computer or we're walking with our little hunchbacks and stuff, we correct all the way to like what we think it should be. That's not going to be comfortable either because you're not there. So a lot of what you kind of showed me was that how to get there. I'm still not there, but the small tweaks that you can do that actually made it more comfortable as opposed to feeling awkward. Like when I would overcorrect, then I'd feel like I was walking around like with like, I don't know, a bird neck or something. But it doesn't have to go from 0 to 100. There's
Yeah.
steps in between that still made a huge difference in my general back pain, especially back and hips. I would
Yeah.
say like those small tweaks, and like we had talked about, um I was always tucking my pelvis, like because I had been taught that by a personal trainer however many years ago that that's how you do it. So that's just always stuck with me, and that's 100% not comfortable, but my body
Yeah. And
was used to
you
it.
didn't have access to things like your deep foundational
No.
muscles, your inner core when you tucked,
Yeah.
or you didn't have your glutes because you were like
Yeah.
tucking so much
Yeah.
that you had no bum. And a lot of
Mhm.
people are like, again, that funny, like, oh, mom jean, mom bum, but like it doesn't have to be like that.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. And it really did make a huge difference in my lower back pain and my hip pain to be able to feel that like even just a half adjustment going, the other way
Yeah.
really changes how
Yeah.
you'll feel. And so that I would say the posture and the pelvic core or the pelvic floor work that we did were two of like the biggest things that I took away from that because I mean all women should be far more aware of their pelvic floor, but especially
Yeah.
if you've had kids,
Hmm.
it's all messed
I
up.
even treat teenage athletes
Yeah.
who have a ton of back pain because they're so like they're playing their sport and working out at the gym so much. And once I teach them about that muscle group, which is like kind of funny as a teenager, right? But it actually makes a big difference. So I love that you brought that up. It's huge. Men too, but especially for women, especially if you are like even like not having kids, every month you have a cycle and like
Yeah.
that puts pressure there. And if you don't know about it, it is a big deal.
Well, and
Um,
we're always taught to like whether it be your Kegels tight or suck in your belly, flex your abs, like that whole area is always taught to be so tight. And I think like we learned that that's a lot of the issue is that we can't relax those muscles. And
Yeah.
that was a huge eye opener too, like learning how to breathe with your muscles down there and in your lungs
Yeah.
properly.
Actually,
Um,
that's a great point you just brought up because most people I see, it's that. It's not that they're like they're just too tight down there.
mhm,
The lack of awareness that that's not normal.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah. Um, can you speak to your headaches?
They're much better.
Okay.
Um,
What
even
do you
when I
think
do,
changed?
that's a posture thing, but also we did some really great stretching exercises that you taught us. So I had done physio with you, I had done physio with countless other people, and I always had results, but not long lasting ones necessarily because I wasn't continuing on with what I should be
Yeah.
doing, as most of us do.
Yeah. So why do
um,
you think the program is different then? Because I get that question a lot. Like, well, I have a
yeah.
physio or like I get my adjustment with my chiro every week. Like, how is this different? I mean, I guess you kind of answered that. It's sustainable, but like why? Why do you think?
The
And
not,
it's even me, right? Like you comparing me to me because you
yeah,
did see me for
yeah,
physio
exactly.
and then you saw me inside the program. Like, how was even that different?
And so she's still really great just as a physio. Don't get me wrong. I had great results with that, but the part of it is on was on me. We don't, a lot of people don't continue with the exercises that you do or whatever. So number one, having the weekly meetup for 12 weeks, the consistency that you form and the habits that you form is a game changer for that because you're being
Yeah.
almost like forced, whether it be sometimes being the girls in the group would be like, oh my God, we didn't do this week. And
And
we'd like,
Amanda, even though you couldn't come to everything, right? Like even though, you couldn't make it, do you feel like just knowing that there was that weekly meeting was like
yes.
a like kind of like a reminder in itself?
It's like having a workout buddy at the gym, right? Like you're more likely to do those things if you have accountability, if you have community, if you have some sort of consistency. Um, it wasn't just having the meetup on the week either. There's all the support through the documents that you've worked so hard to create. There's um, the second part that I wanted to speak to is the mindfulness component that's part of your
Yes.
that was a big difference because it's not just like, okay, so here's your exercises, do them once a day for the next 2 weeks and then we'll see you. Like it wasn't like that. It was like, why are we doing these exercises? Like taking stock of your body and how it feels when you're doing it. It just like when you can do a little mindfulness check-in once a day, that became habit as well. And
So
it
cool.
just it just pops up even when you're not thinking of it then. Like I would be walking from the front of my job to the back to get something and I'd realize, oh, I need to untuck. you know? Like it just would pop in. Whereas like I never
Yeah.
had that before. And I truly think
No.
it's because of the 12-week kind of like
Yeah.
check-ins and daily like there's little daily exercises you can do and journaling prompts and all of that keeps you in it because
Yeah.
habits form with consistency. So having that really, really was probably what was different this time around.
That's cool. Would you say, like, I talk about mindset and mindfulness a lot,
Mhm.
even like just in my posts. Do you feel that your mindset has shifted about like how your body is and how you feel like in your body, whether you trust it and yourself, like not just your physical body, but your thought process and yourself?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of stuff to be unlearned for sure. But it was great to be in the group with the three other women and you because we talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
So has it changed? I don't know if I'm there yet 100%,
But
but
I think that's
there's
okay. The journey is upwards, right?
exactly like it's about accepting yourself the way you are and seeing how you can tweak the fit. Like when I came into it, I was thinking like, okay, after 12 weeks, I'm gonna be like super like 100% different, but then life happens. It's never gonna be like that. But every week we came out with something a little bit less painful, something a little bit more mindful, something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And
Small
like,
wins equal
yeah,
big picture, right?
yeah. And that's like, I think that my mindset has changed. It's not a
Cool.
it's not a black or white. It's not an all or nothing.
No, it's not like when we're in our 20s and we are going to go down south for a week. So we like crash diet and work out like crazy for a month,
And that's
right?
not the goal anymore either, I would
It's
say.
not. And like,
I
why would we expect change like that,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. So tell us about how things are today for you. Like, are you you still have access to the program? And
Yeah.
you said you it pops into your mind every once in a while when you're
Yeah,
at work
definitely.
or, maybe when you're picking up your kids or whatever. Like, what do you think your three biggest wins are? Let's go there.
Definitely less pain just from all like everything encompassed in the program. Definitely less pain on a daily basis. Um, I struggle with a lot of mental health issues and stuff like that, and so the mindfulness was a huge one. Like to even like we're all busy, we don't have time for anything, right? Like we don't have time for anything that we're supposed to have time for.
What do
Um,
you mean? We have all the time when we're making lunches, doing laundry,
yeah,
going to work, driving kids to their activities.
but like we even talked about like while you're in the shower, like you would say like, while you're in the shower, even just take the moment to like really be present in that moment, feel the water on your body, like is it hot, is it cold, like you're doing that anyways.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
use that thing you're doing anyways just to check in with yourself,
Mm,
and don't just like coast through it all. So I
yeah.
think that was a really really big one too.
Yeah. So
um,
powerful. Hmm.
and being with the other three women in the group was a big takeaway. They A lot of them struggled with things that were physically a lot more than I struggle with, and they all came quite a long way as well. So it was cool to be part of that community and that kind of camaraderie and really open up to everybody about your different,
Yeah.
like we got pretty in depth.
We sure did.
I mean, there is no TMI for me, so like I appreciated that, and we all really learned from each other too, because we're
Yeah.
all kind of in different age ranges, so we've been through different parts of our lives and different seasons, and
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
I think that that's a huge one that you don't get when you go to your weekly, massage or your chiro visit or osteopath or whoever you see. I'm not saying those things aren't good, right? I'm still a practicing physio one-on-one, but like the group, the consistency, like you said, and the camaraderie and like sharing stories and I'm learning from each other. That is like, it's, you just can't get that.
No,
Like,
and I mean it's like anything. You always feel really alone until you hear that somebody else has experienced the same
yeah,
thing. And you're kind of
yeah.
like, oh, or somebody else who has experienced it and no longer is. You're like, oh my gosh,
Yes, it's
is
it's
it
like
how it has
inspire.
to
It's
be?
either like, yeah, it's either like someone's like solidarity, like right, power of the pack, or you're like inspired. Magda is online actually. Magda
Oh,
that we
nice.
know. So this is funny. Magda, her husband is our high school buddy. So Magda says, Amanda, what are your favorite mindfulness prompts from the program?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember them off the top of my head. I think
Well,
it's
the
like
shower
things.
one was kind of one of them, right?
Yeah.
I had said pick one daily activity that you already do, whether it's
Mhm,
drinking your coffee, brushing your teeth.
mhm.
Amanda picked shower.
Yeah.
Would you say that was your favorite to like prompt you?
Yeah. There was also, I believe it's in the first couple weeks. There's a whole, or it might have been the first week where there were ones where you were, I can't remember them specifically, but
That's okay.
it's essentially talking to yourself and
Oh,
like,
yes.
do you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? And so it's like
Hmm.
asking yourself about what your, how do you feel when you look in the mirror? How do you, those ones.
Yeah.
Um, I cried when I did them.
That's okay. Sometimes, did you know tears are therapeutic?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
They actually release hormones. It's really cool.
Yeah, I believe that because
Yeah.
a good cry can do a lot.
Yeah.
But those ones were really kind of like almost meditative, like you really have to like had to think on them and like be honest with yourself. And I think sometimes we write like someone else is going to read it. And I think the
Oh my
important,
gosh. I love that you brought that up because that's how I journaled until I went to this retreat when I was pregnant with Aiden, like my third child.
yeah,
And we had a journaling workshop and I thought it was so silly. I was like, "Oh my God, like dear diary, you know?"
yeah.
And always writing kind of like someone is going to read it. But then they had all these different prompts and styles and they were like, "No one's reading this. Like this is
Hmm.
just you." And I was like, "Oh, so you tell me about how you took that."
Um, because you're still going to be guarded if you think someone else is going to read it.
Yeah.
Uh, I always do write as if I'm talking to myself, not as in like I don't write I blah 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 blah. I write you blah 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 as if I'm
Okay.
talking to myself.
Yeah.
But if you don't think anyone, if you really can tap into somebody else never reading it, you can write the full truth and get those real emotions out onto the paper, which is like you've unlocked like next level journaling
Really
because you'll
interesting.
really allow yourself to be honest and vulnerable uh,
Mm-hmm.
in those
Now,
moments.
like, can you help us tie that? Because someone who may not be aware yet that emotions may tie to physical pain or physical limitations, like, how do you think that ties together inside like the program that's called Move with Ease?
I don't
That's a
know.
big question.
That wasn't in my questions. You know what? Anytime that you can allow emotions to flow freely, you're
Hmm.
going to release something in your body.
That is
Um,
so cool. I'm gonna have to like type that out and quote you on that.
like for sure. I know I'm also like woo woo spiritual, and so I do Reiki and that kind of thing. And like if you can move the energy out of a part of your body that is actually in physical pain, you can
Mhm.
release that pain.
Yeah.
Like it's the same idea of like holding our pelvic floor so tight all the
Yeah.
time, right? Like
Yeah.
when you're anxious or you're depressed or you're sad or
Yeah.
whatever, your body is in that kind of tense.
Yeah. It's in
So
fight or
when you
flight. Hmm.
yeah, exactly. And so even
Yeah.
you think about it, anytime you have a big cry, you almost feel like you've let out a giant sigh and your body feels jelly, right? Like if you've had like a full meltdown, you just feel like you could lie down and have a nap.
Maybe
And
that's
I
why children do it.
maybe maybe we just like figured out toddlers. I don't know.
It's so
But
annoying, but maybe they need it. Yeah.
so I
Um,
mean if you can get what's really deep down bothering you out onto the paper, it's
yeah.
releasing that and something else is going to release in your body along with it, whether it be physical pain or emotional stress or that anything, you know?
So powerful. What would you say to someone who might be watching this and feel like either I don't think I'm ready for that, or like what's a piece of advice that you would give them? Like maybe they're not ready to jump in and work inside the program, and that's okay. But like what would you like what's a piece of advice you would give for that? Because I know a
It's,
lot of people are scared.
it doesn't have to be perfect. I
Nice. I
don't
love
that has
that.
to be perfect. I'm somebody who's like really hard on themselves if they miss a meeting or oh I didn't do this week's whatever, and like this is specific to the program, but you were always like it doesn't matter. You have lifetime access. If you didn't get to it this week, get to it next week. It's okay. Like give yourself permission to not be perfect at whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Any other final thoughts? I'm trying to run through the list of questions. I think we hit up all the points, Amanda.
I think so too.
You're such a good speaker. I know you were a bit nervous but you did great. Let me just make sure. I think we talked about everything. Yeah, amazing. Oh, I know. What's the biggest thing maybe you learned about yourself other than posture?
Um, that I'm not I think I learned that I'm not alone in all these struggles. That's a big one. Like the fact that you've created an entire program to deal with these issues, I'm not alone. And I think a lot of people probably think that what they have what they're experiencing might be just them, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
definitely not. And it is all fixable. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not, you're not gonna maybe feel like you're 20 again, but you're not gonna feel the way you do now. Can feel better.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not forever.
And it's like all about accepting this phase of life, right? Like, and it doesn't have to look like pain and downhill from here, but it's not also, to your point, it's not going to look like our 20s because our bodies are changing.
Yeah.
Perimenopause, those symptoms are real. As we get older, we do have to pay more attention to our bodies. We can't just, go for a big hike on the weekend and that's it. Like we do have to just be a bit more intentional and mindful, purposeful with our movement, with our thought process, and how we carry ourselves. So I love
And
that.
just, yeah, and just the stretching, like to bring it back to like the XYZ spine. Like
Yeah.
you can do simple, very quick movements, not quick
Yeah.
in the movement, but like time wise, that can
Yeah.
really like change your day's feeling with your
Yeah.
body.
Like most of the time, well, when you're at your work, you're not even like you can't change and get a yoga mat out.
No,
Right.
but
Amanda works at a distillery, a local one. And but the stuff, the little movements in the program, you were able to do at work
for
in
sure.
between customers, or just like if it doesn't even matter. You probably encourage your colleagues to like move with you, right? You didn't have to
And it's
change
not
your
like you're
clothes.
jumping to a downward dog. Like it's nothing that's going to make you look like a super weirdo or anything.
Or super cool. Yeah,
Or super
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, it's just like it's actually like pretty basic movements that you can do in any type of clothing.
For
You can
sure.
do it in a suit, right?
Yep,
Yeah. Oh, Magda wrote progress over perfection. Love it.
that's
Okay,
right.
well, thank you again so much for this chat. And thanks, Magda, for coming live. If anyone has questions, I know Amanda checks in once in a while. You can definitely tag her. Is that okay, Amanda?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and ask, or you can tag me and ask me.
Yes.
So great. Thank you, and have a great weekend.